everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I wanted to share with you some tips for using the Instant Pot. So hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now you must have gotten some Instant Pots as your Christmas presents, or maybe you got some for yourself over the Thanksgiving Black Friday deal period. So in anyways, if you haven't yet opened your Instant Pot, or you're just looking for some tips to start off and make that cooking in Instant Pot just seem very kind of comfortable and nothing to worry about, these are tips for you. So here's my Instant Pot. Mine is a 9-in-1 Instant Pot Duo. It doesn't really matter which one you have. These tips are applicable to most, and I'll kind of share any differences, if any. Now mine is a 6-quart, okay? And this one has about 9 settings. So you'll see over here it's got like soup, meat, bean, cake, and egg are the 2 new ones that is different from the 7-in-1. So just keep that in mind. Then you have your rice, multigrain, porridge, steam, sterilize. I think sterilize might be the new one, and the cake might be the new one. Yogurt was there in the 7.1, and then you just have your normal pressure cooking that you do here, slow cooking, saute mode, and then just adjusting your pressure level, normal, high, kind of increasing, decreasing, delay start, warm option, and then just stopping. So as you can see, these are now different modes. First things first, this is your main inserts. We're gonna call that. And a lot of times we see that there's a water test that you can do to test your Instant Pot. Now that you can definitely do that. I find that you can technically just use do your first cooking with rice. So just take rice. You can take an inner insert like this, and this basically just goes in here. Okay, there's another trick, I'll talk to you about that, but I have this inner insert, and I use this a lot to make any kind of rice, lentils, anything. So if you just use this, put say if you take a cup of rice, and then 2 to 2.25 times the amount of water to rice. Okay, that's your ratio. Put it in here, and then just turn on the rice mode. And I find that to be the easiest. So that could be technically your first meal that you cook in there. Now, the second thing, talking about inner inserts. A really good thing, if you have a 6-quart or an 8-quart, is just to use these inserts to do most of your cooking. I rarely ever, unless I have to make a big meal for like 6 to 8 people, and I'm making like pilaf, like biryani, something like that, or batter or something, I will use the main insert to do the cooking. Otherwise, everything I do is a pot-in-pot method. That just keeps your main insert clean most of the times, and you can technically get multiple things cooking at the same time. So that's your tip number 2. Just use multiple inner inserts. If you're doing a big batch of like garbanzo beans or kidney beans or soup or broth, feel free to use the main insert. Tip number 3, pot-in-pot cooking and multiple things at the same time. So now I actually have multiple of these. These are, so I think this insert is a diameter of 7.5 inches, and this is about 7 inches. So I can layer up to 3 of these in here if I don't use a stand. If I use a stand, 2 of these, and they're stackable inserts. So I just do that. I do lentils at the bottom, rice at the top, and I get my rice and lentils, right? Easy peasy. A lot of times I might cook something and in the main insert down below, mostly like a vegetable that requires a little bit of gravy, a little bit of water, but not too much. Or it doesn't matter if it's not too much. It's not a completely dry vegetable curry, has some gravy in it. So I cook that at the bottom and then cook rice and lentils and all. That works really well. So try to do that. That will save you a lot of times. I have multiple complete meal in one options or videos that I can link down below. The second thing, if you don't have a stand like this, a stand that's like 2 inches high, at least get one of those. I think it's really helpful when you have to do the stackable cooking. Also, it's helpful if you're doing like idlis, so steaming idlis or anything. It doesn't touch the water. and it gives you enough space. Even with a vegetable at the bottom, you can actually cook three things at the same time. So you will see that again in some of the videos I link below about complete Indian meal cooking. So that's kind of tip number 4. Let's see. Tip number 5 is just around size. Now, if you have a 3-quart, you would most likely use the main insert a lot. If you have a 6 or 8 quarts, a 6-quart is generally good for family of 2 to 4 or 3 to 4. And then the 8-quart is good for family of like 4 to 6, I believe. So I think that's a general rule. I find the 6-quart is works best for me. So that's kind of around sizing. And then in terms of the inner inserts that you want to get, so if you're, whatever is your measurement or diameter for your main insert, just subtract about half an inch, and that way you can get up to that much of the insert size. So if this is 7.5 and this is 7 inches, it works, right? Because it still gives me room on the side to take in and out the insert. Okay. I lost count of the tips, but I think this was tip number 6. Have a tong or a puck. It's called pukkad in Hindi. It has various words in other languages. I just call it tongs, and it's really helpful. I have a link below on my Amazon storefront that you can find as well for something similar to this. I find these are really heavy duty, so there isn't a chance of like your hot insert slipping out or anything like that. So invest in one of these. These are really great. It kind of gets in there and gets it out. Okay, tip number 7. Let's talk about cleaning tips. So again, I just use, like I said, using inner inserts makes the cleaning easy. Otherwise, just using it, scrubbing it by hand. Sometimes I put it in the dishwasher. These sides, you can clean it with a paper towel, like these things. So just clean, like mine needs to be cleaned up now. Just clean it with a paper towel or a sponge or something like that. That works. And then just wiping it off with a towel. There is like this little thing. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. This thing. When it's full of water, your Instant Pot doesn't work. So it kind of goes somewhere here. Yeah. And so I'll just like stick it in here. Let's see if I can find it. Find where it goes. Okay. The other thing I found is a lot of times I get asked question around. So my lid rarely gets dirty. Now this has started discoloring, and I just try to wipe it off. But a lot of times I will like, this is more about just water and steam collecting and then dropping off from here. But my lid doesn't get dirty. But I've heard about the smell. So especially if you cook a lot of Indian things with onions and masalas, there is smell here. I don't find that the smell transfers, and if you do feel like it does, just put a little bit of white vinegar in there, run it through like a little bit 5-minute or 2-minute cycle, and it should be okay. Like let it just steam. Whenever I make rice, I find that the smell goes away. So I think but it doesn't get into the rice. So that's another way if you don't want to worry about cleaning. Tip number 8. So let's talk a little bit about the cooking modes. Like I mentioned, the rice. It's great for rice, of course, but when I said I actually put in lentils and rice and everything together, I actually still use the rice mode. So I find that works really well. If I have brown rice, then I will use the multigrain mode. So that about 30 to 40 minutes. This takes about 12 minutes. I haven't much tried this one, but if I were to cook my oatmeal, I think how I did with the oatmeal, I would use this. I use steam whenever I'm doing yogurt. So if I'm doing yogurt, I do like a 1-minute steam so that the milk comes up to the right temperature. And then, of course, once it cools down and I add the yogurt in, I will do the yogurt mode. If you're interested in knowing how I do my yogurt, just let me know in the comments below and I can do a video about that. I actually, the yogurt I make in this, according to my family, is the best yogurt that they have had. So, and they're very picky about their yogurt. So I would say, I think that works. Sterilize, again, I think if you're trying to sterilize your cans for jamming and things like that, your jars, this is a good option as well. I use the soup mode a lot as well whenever I'm doing either a soup or a broth. So if you see some of my soup videos or broth video, you will see that I use this one. Meat, if I do a chicken recipe, my chicken curry videos have this mode again. You have to adjust the timing. If you're using white chicken, you want to lower the pressure and so forth. Bean, a lot of times I'll do this one. So whenever I do like beans that are just soaked, I'll do a 30-minute bean chili mode. If I want to get to like if I have that plus I have added the masalas and everything, then I'll do like a 45 to 60 minutes just so that it kind of is nice and tender. The cake mode, definitely I've used it. See my Christmas bread pudding recipe. Egg mode, just to get your usual eggs. Slow cooker, of course, this you know. And then in your pressure level, you can adjust it, the duo, that's what it is. So I do low pressure for the steam mode when I'm doing yogurt, or like cake mode when I just have like, I'm trying to make a custard. So that's when I use for lentils, beans, everything like that. I use the high pressure mode. For white chicken, I'll use the low. So it's just different things, you know, how much, like how soon you want to go. Like if you're cooking potatoes and things in there, I would rather stick to low, just because it does cook through, but then you don't want it to get mushy as well. Delay start is a great feature. I do that a lot of times. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about steam mode, if you're steaming like idlis or something like that, I use this, but with my lid on the venting position. I find that to be better. So that brings us to tip number 8, venting versus sealing. Most of my cooking happens in the sealing position. So that's what that is. And then only if I'm like doing idlis or something, I keep it on a venting position. When you're venting, the countdown doesn't really happen, which is why you have to keep an eye on it. So you don't want to do venting when you're out of the house. You want to have sealing because that's the only way it's going to get to the pressure and then count itself down. So that's kind of talking about the different modes. Tip number 9, talking about venting versus sealing, natural release versus force. Up to you. If you have time, let it naturally release. If not, sometimes it's okay to do a force release, like if it's just rice or just your lentils and things like that. I think that's okay. Try to keep it away from all like things that might not do well with moisture in them. So yeah, but that's a preference and that's up to you. It just take about 10 to 20 minutes depending on if you've used high pressure or low. So just keep that in mind. And that's kind of the tips I had. If you have any other questions, let me know. But hope you guys can get started. It's really easy. It's really simple. It's very convenient and it's quick. So don't worry about it. Just take the leap and get started. And if you have questions, put your comments in below and I can try and answer them as well. So enjoy your Instant Pot and have a wonderful new year. Don't forget to subscribe and see you again in another video. Bye.